My next guest on Tea Time with me, Ali Monjack, is Peta Stoddart Crompton, who's been in PR and comms for 30 years. Peta started out as fashion PR, having an absolutely fabulous experience with designers such as Galliano and Vivienne Westwood, then worked in different types of media, including the Clothes Show magazine, before settling down to carry on doing what she does best, communicate for a local authority. She's definitely a lifestyle guru who enjoys the best of music, art and culture. Let's find out more. Peta, welcome to Tea Time with me, Ali Monjack. So welcome to the podcast, and how's your day been?
It's been pretty frenetic. It's been pretty Zoom-tastic, actually. You're the last one of the day.
Oh, bless you. It definitely is a communication trend of the times, isn't it? We're just going to have a chat, really, about, of you being in PR and comms for 30 years. I mean, a lot must have changed within that time.
Everything has changed, and I would say probably mostly for the better. Everyone is able to communicate more. When I started, back in the day, we didn't have social media, and it was more a case of building personal relationships, rather than relying on Twitter to spread the word. So different times.
Yeah, no, totally different times. I mean, you first started out, didn't you? You had an fab time in London as fashion PR.
I did have an fab time. I worked for a lady called Jean Bennett, who was like one of the, the forerunners in fashion PR, along with Lynn Franks, really. And I worked there, and we just had the best accounts. We had Vivienne Westwood, Galliano, we had Jeff Banks when he was Warehouse, the Warehouse stores. And lots more. We had all the accounts that everybody wanted.
Gosh, yeah, no, sounds like you did. They must have been envious with, your fashionistas.
Yeah, it was great.
So, what was it like to work with people like Vivienne Westwood and Galliano? Were they friendly? What were they like?
Well, it was actually a very kind of inspiring and creative time. Westwood and Galliano, they were not quite the new kids on the block, but they were probably the most important kids on the block at the time. She had lots of great people working with her. Bella Floyd was her assistant at the time, and obviously she is like a fashion designer in her own right now. Her son Joe Corey was, round and about, and obviously he went on to do all kinds of things, not least agent provocateur. So very creative, inspiring people. Just the kind of feeling that anything could happen, and sometimes it did.
And you seem to think that who the absolutely fabulous with Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley. You think you know who the person Bubbles was cast on?
Well, I mean, nobody really knows, but we often thought that, potentially she may be very loosely based on one of the Jean Bennett girls, and so that it's food for thought. I'm not sure what Ange would say about that, but yeah, we've always thought, maybe because she was a real kind of integral part of the fashion scene at the time, and I think anyone that was in fashion PR knew Ange. So maybe that's my personal view.
Yeah, no, that's fun. So, I mean, it must have been fun walking around, working around a catwalk as well, seeing it sort of all come to life and it all happen. I mean, what was that like? It must have been hectic.
Yeah, it was hectic but amazing, and the fashion shows, London Fashion Week. Actually, one time I worked on them, and they were held up at Chelsea, kind of around by Chelsea Barracks. And yeah, we had a pretty exciting time. We linked up with Lynn Franks, and she was PRing Fiorucci at the time, and there were a few kind of Devil Wears Prada moments, when the the Lymphax girls wanted to put out lots of roses on the chairs, and the Vivienne Westwood crew were not so keen on that. So yeah, it was interesting times, you know, because I think, yeah, I think Vivienne Westwood and her team were, you know, they were pretty much a law unto themselves. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine. Really, really interesting. And, you know, did you ever have a moment where you just thought, gosh, is this really happening?
Yeah, all the time. I was so happy that it was all happening, because I'd always been mad on clothes, and so all my Christmases came at once, you know, when I got that job. So yeah, it was brilliant for me, and I wasn't really thinking too deeply about anything other than wearing great clothes that I couldn't afford at a retail price, and going to lots of parties, and it kind of ticked all the boxes really. So I loved every second.
Oh, fantastic. So, I mean, is there any pieces that you've managed to save clothes-wise, or any, well, were you gifted clothes? Were you gifted clothes?
Well, you're going to be so impressed, because, as you know, I'm not always so organised, but I knew this might come up because you'd be talking about fashion. So, just for you, Ali, there it is.
Wow.
It's a Vivienne Westwood deep sky jacket, and the only one I've seen in recent years has been at the V&A, so it's covetable, to say the least. Yes, there you go.
Fantastic. Wow. That is quite something. So obviously, I mean, most of Vivienne's clothes are a limited edition, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you can't get a deep sky jacket. No way, no how. Well, unless you know you make me an offer, but I would probably refuse.
Oh, bless you, bless you. So yeah, and amazing. I mean, what would that have retailed at the time and now?
I really can't remember. I really can't remember. It wouldn't have been cheap. Certainly, I mean, the clothes weren't cheap, but they weren't meant to be cheap. And yeah, I can remember way before, kind of moving up to London and working in, you know, fashion or PR, I did used to go to London, save up all my pocket money, and go to the shop at World's End so that I could buy little bits and pieces. And it probably took me about a year to save up for a pirate outfit, so which I then wore to death. So just so I could look like Chrissy Hynde, you know. I'm
Oh,
still trying to
brilliant.
look like Chrissy Hynde, but you know, I'm working on it.
Well, I think you've got your own thing going on there. You really, really have, Pete. Definitely, without a doubt. So that is fantastic. So, did you get gifted a lot of clothes though? Did you?
No, we didn't get gifted an awful lot, but you know, we kind of got them dirt cheap. So you know, and we did sometimes used to wear them. Maybe when we shouldn't have. We used to borrow them every now and again, which was very exciting and naughty. Fabulous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. So when did you make the move out of fashion? When was that sort of period of your life over?
Well, I kind of remained interested in fashion and did little bits and pieces, but then I sort of moved more into publishing. Actually, I went to work for Media Week. I was the PA to the publisher there, so a complete turnaround. And from there, I went to Clothes Show magazine when it was the biggest fashion show ever. And because obviously, as I say, people didn't rely on the internet. So, you know, people were very excited to watch the programme. And I worked for them before the BBC kind of took them on, for a tiny publishing company called Focus. And yeah, I had a great time. I did all the advertorials. And so it gave me a chance. I got to art direct some of my own shots, work with photographers, and you know, write the copy. So yeah, that was a great job for me, because I got to do everything. So you know, all the bits that I really liked, it was all rolled into one.
So, you know, more getting involved with the stylization of stuff and styling. I mean, that seems really like your bag, because, you know, having known you for
Yeah.
quite a few years now, I know that you're really into your upcycling and, you know, doing all
Wait,
that.
always been an upcycler. Definitely, I think that from like going way back when I was like very much into the punk look, and everybody wanted their look to be customized. You know, I would spend a lot of time, you know, in charity shops and at jumble sales, kind of just looking for something that I could maybe kind of rip to shreds and sew back up again, just so no one else had it. So that was, you know, that was great.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's talk about the Clothes Show magazine for a little while, because, you know, surely you must have been working with Jeff Banks.
Well, not directly actually, but we obviously did have a kind of loop through to those guys because we were producing the magazine. So no, I didn't meet Jeff. I did work on the first Clothes Show Live exhibition, which was really exciting, and that was at Earl's Court. And in fact, there hadn't been anything like it ever. And so people were literally queuing around the block. And I can remember the big excitement was, of course, because we had Jason Donovan as our star turn.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what was he like?
Really nice, yeah, just really approachable and lovely, just as you'd imagine him to be. So yeah, so that was really cool. I didn't realise how groundbreaking that was going to be, because obviously after the BBC took over, you know, Clothes Show magazine, they kind of made that very large and took it up to Birmingham, but it all started fairly small, very low key in a way, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. So tell me, did you have a crush on Jason Donovan? Were you a fan?
No, I didn't. I had a crush on Michael Hutchins from In Excess. I still do.
Yeah, God rest his soul. So yeah,
Absolutely.
did you ever meet him?
No, I did go to see him. I've seen him play on a few occasions, so I was lucky. But no, I never got to meet him, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, never mind. But it sounds like you had a, you know, you've had a really good fun working around the fashion industry. So, I mean, is there any pictures now, sort of shots that you helped art direct and create back then that you kind of see reproduced in today and think, I did that first, I did that?
Well, there are a lot of things that I see that I can see the influences in, but I mean, it's the same with everything, isn't it? You know, nothing comes from, you know, nothing at all. Everything is based on influences, you know, music, fashion, art. It's all around influences. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of, I can't think of anything like off the top of my head, but yeah, I see a lot of stuff that is influenced by stuff that we did back then, particularly now, because, you know, the 80s and 90s are very key fashion looks, you know, and people are like trying to recreate them. You know, it's very in right now.
Yeah, it is very in right now, isn't it? Definitely. So, I mean, you know, I suppose we go through sort of cycles with fashion, don't we? And cycles with
Yeah,
things. I mean, you
it's
know,
definitely cyclic. And I
when
really
would you
wish
think? Go on.
there's so, I was going to say, there's so many things. I look at a magazine now and I think, oh, I had one like that. I really wish I kept it. But I think everybody does that.
Really? Yeah. No, I'm sure they do. But I mean, you must do more so than anybody because, you know, you've worked in fashion, you've worked with the Clothes Show magazine, and, you know, it's trying to create that perfect picture, isn't it? I mean, do you think that magazines, I mean, you know, we're not so magazine centric now, are we? Everything is online. But do you think, you know, I mean, that, you know, we've kind of, do you think that people just keep trying to reproduce things, or we kind of move on in different ways?
Yeah, I think we move on. I just think there's a new perspective, but quite often the core influences are there. As I say, you know, it's so evident in the 70s, you know, with the 70s and 80s looks that are out now. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, 70s and 80s are really quite, yeah, but don't you find that maybe there's more modern twists on clothes now, that they mix it up a bit?
Well, yeah, but there are, you know, I mean, I would say, I mean, I certainly like to get an older look and kind of add a little twist to it. But I mean, if you look at designers like Prada, for example, I mean, they're very 70s influenced, you know,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
and
it's
the prints and, you know, the shapes, the jackets, everything. Yeah, which is great.
do you miss it? Do you miss not art directing? Because it sounds like, you know, you've still got it rushing through your blood, basically.
I kind of like to keep my hand in if I ever get a chance to do any kind of photos or, you know, get involved with any shoots. But yeah, not so much these days. I can't say I miss it because I think once you kind of take a change of direction, it's probably best not to look back, keep looking forward, you know. But it's great times, and I'm so glad that that I got the chance to do some of
I
that
mean, you
stuff.
did get called back, didn't you, a couple of years ago, to do a PR project working with some friends at Windsor Castle?
Oh, a PR project? What the what the wedding? You mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of got called on to kind of look after the media at the wedding of Eugenie and Jack. Yes, I get that right. Yeah, and yeah, that was it. That was exciting, and I did end up actually meeting somebody that I used to work with at Jean Bennett, and she was working for Sky TV, and so that was really odd. I was in the media pen outside Windsor Castle, and yeah, and she was having trouble getting with her passes, getting access in, and she was going to miss her slot. So I said, "You can come in here." And she said, "Don't I know you?" And then she said, "Yeah, you're one of the Jean Bennett girls," which is made me howl with laughter because yeah, no one has called me that for a very long time.
Once a
And
Jean Bennett
I love that
away.
I love that she called me a girl as well. Yeah.
Fabulous. I just love that. So, I mean, you've kind of gone full circle, haven't you, with comms as well? Because, you know, you eventually left publishing and then you went and did something entirely different, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I got married, I moved to Wales, and then I worked in economic development. I was working with the Welsh Development Agency to kind of sell the idea of businesses moving to Wales to businesses outside of Wales. So I kind of went on a little roadshow every month, like talking to people and telling them how great it was to move to Wales and try and reel them in.
Fab. So, I mean, do you think you got lots of people interested? I'm sure you did, actually.
Well, I got some people interested. Let's say that. Well, yeah. Hopefully, anyway. You know, Wales is a great place. So yeah, I think I should. I mean, obviously I shouldn't be advertising other places, other places I'm working in. But yeah, you know, Wales is a good place. There's lots of space for people to build their offices and factories in a way that they can't, you know, maybe in more built up areas. But yeah, I've got a soft spot for Wales.
Oh, lovely. So it sounds amazing. I mean, I have been a couple of times. It is an amazing place, and they've got amazing beaches as well in Wales, haven't they? So,
Sadly, not where I lived. I was in the middle of Wales, so I was about 20 miles out of Shropshire, so literally in the middle of Wales. So that was interesting because people from London would come and say, "Can we meet for lunch?" And I'd say, "Yeah, where are you?" They say Cardiff, not realising that it's quicker for me to go to London than to meet them in Cardiff. So yeah.
oh no, well that sounds really good. So that was a complete contrast. But I have actually missed out. You did work for the Ideal Home exhibition as well.
I did. I worked for the Ideal Home exhibition. I was one of their show sales managers, and that meant I was in charge of like a number of sections within the exhibition. One of them was like the female focus. The other one was the design area. So yeah, that was quite interesting.
Well, no, it
Very
does sound interesting, but you know, again, it's all connected to sort of style, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I was lucky to get those particular areas to work on. So yeah, it did work for me because it was a bit of a home from home, really, talking about all the stuff, you know, dealing with those kind of exhibitors. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I mean, what would you say is like, you know, the difference between sales and PR apart from fundamentally pushing, being you know, somebody who really pushes sales through? I mean, do you not think that, you know, in a sales role, you were basically just using PR?
I guess some of the skills are transferable, but I think it's PR is much more strategic, obviously. And again, selling, it's you're kind of looking at, you know, individuals' needs, aren't you? You know, and finding out how your product would fit with their, you know, with their needs. And in PR as well, you're doing the same thing. You're kind of talking around what fits the strategies, and you know how to get it out to the right audiences. So there's some crossover, but not much really. So
No,
selling selling is a bit of a more intense gig from my memory anyway.
not something that you really want to repeat in a hurry.
It was hard work, yeah. You know, very time sensitive because obviously you have to have all the space sold and you know, have everything kind of set up, you know, and so yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, no, it does sound intense. So the Ideal Home exhibition, any stories out there?
I did once get. I was put in charge of Bubbles Rothermere, who was, you know, obviously the lady of the Associated Newspaper Group, and I take her around the exhibition for a day, which was interesting. She was a character. She was a character. So I think probably not many other Ideal Home stories apart from that.
No, well, I mean, you know, again, how amazing to work with somebody like that. And, you know,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing to meet her. As I say, she was a definite character.
yeah, a real eye opener as well, I should imagine, in life. Yeah. Well, working with, you know, the Associated Newspapers, definitely. So, so, you know, going into Wales again and, you know, being part of economic development, and again, that's a totally different thing. So you went kind of like from style, everything sort of stylish and fashion and magazines and everything, to doing economic development. So, do you think the same principles apply in PR when you're doing something like that? Do they apply across the boards, or is, you know, fashion PR more, or style PR more one way, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, fashion PR is very. I can't think of the word, but you know, obviously you're kind of working with certain trends, you know. But I mean, yeah, I think a lot of the people skills are transferable, you know, and PR is definitely easier. I think if you really love, you know, what you're promoting, you know, then it's kind of not a job, is it? As they say, if you like talking about clothes, and you know, and I also did Neil John remedies as well. So I mean, yeah, it's clothes, you know, beauty products, natural beauty products, which I'm really into. So yeah, it didn't really feel like a job much. That was a later PR job with profile PR that I worked for Neil John remedies. So yeah, I think the skills just, there's so much crossover, and I think that you can use those skills, you know, in every aspect of all of those jobs.
So what makes a good PR person then?
I don't know, Ali. You tell me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's got to be communication, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do need to, even though things are much more social media based, I personally think it is really nice if you're a person that likes to communicate with people and enjoying that and kind of building up on a story. You know, even if you're working with your colleagues to put something together, it's all about that interaction. And yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. That's just so you. And you know, you're always, even though you now work for a local authority, which I know you
Yeah.
love, because you know you're able to get involved in the salt of the earth type stuff, as they say.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot. Yeah, it's great working for so many different services. You know, there's a lot of human interest aspects to the work that I do, which I really like. It feels really worthwhile. So yeah, it's good.
yeah, no, that is, and I think you've kind of grown through the whole PR comms thing, haven't you, as well? Because you know
Yeah.
you've now started giving out and doing the menopause cafe. um
Yeah. It's a kind of different angle, which maybe it's a natural one for women as they hit a certain age. But yeah, I'm also the women's officer at the council, and as part of that role, I started to look at menopause in the workplace. There's around 4.8 million women between the ages of 50 and 60 working, in the workplace today. And obviously, a lot of those are menopausal because the average age is at 51. So I started looking at my own workplace, did some surveys, found out how many women were sort of like experiencing symptoms. Asked them if they'd like to take it a stage further and talk face to face at a cafe. And so did a few menopause cafes so we could just hear about the issues that people were having and ask, how they felt they could be better supported. And the council is just about to make its menopause policy live, which is great because literally there's only 10% of companies in the UK have menopause policies. So West Berkshire Council is one of the 10% now, which is great.
there you go again, you're doing that PR thing, aren't you?
You got me there. Yeah, it's really fabulous because when you consider that Channel 4 recently implemented their menopause policy, it made front page news, which is great, but it's kind of absurd, really, given that every company has a maternity policy, but only 10% have menopause policies, and you wouldn't think that it would be front page news for a company, or an organisation to be, looking after their female staff at that time. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it takes a certain type of person as well to recognize this, because, we live in a very fast-paced world as well, where, where everything almost happened yesterday, because, that's something you didn't have when you started out in PR, as you said, social media. I mean, I think trying to find the information can often get lost in the ether, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is very fast paced. I mean, where at one point you may have had 24 hours to compile a response. Sometimes you barely have 24 minutes because the story is out there. So it's very, very fast paced. Which is good. It's just that information traffic. So it's kind of just keeping the flow with that and being aware of everything that's going on social media and responding, as as quickly as you can.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, but I mean, as I said, you yourself, you've really sort of, grown in the last 30 years, and, you've incorporated your style into what you do and PR and comms, and grown your own thing, haven't you? I mean, as I said, you're really, and you've said yourself, you're really into upcycling. I mean, during lockdown, you spent a lot of time working from home. You actually converted part of an old mill into some flower pots, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I clearly had a bit of time on my hands at one point. Yeah, it didn't last long. I just I sort of just saw the potential for some. I quite like industrial themes, as you might be able to see behind me. We've got a scaffold pole which is actually converted into a light. So I wanted industrial. I mean, you don't get much more industrial than that. And so, yeah, I kind of found these trays that were part of a big kind of sifting machine.
I mean, so, you know, your art directing days really, you know, are not over, are they, Pete?
Well, I think there's different ways of expressing, you know, now, and I probably do a lot more like through the home, whereas it did used to be mainly clothes. Now it's interiors as well. So, you know, the fireplace behind me is a rescue fireplace from a builder that was bashing it to bits, and I was like, stop. And yeah, so I kind of cleaned it up, got it fixed up, got the broken bits kind of put together by a stonemason, and yeah, there it is. But it was yeah, it was good. It was in several pieces when I got it, and not in a good way.
No, I mean, that sounds amazing. I mean, also those old fireplaces are worth quite a lot of money, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. The original Victorian fireplace, it came out of a Victorian house, but I mean, I'm just so nosy that when I heard, you know, some banging going on, I went to see what, you know, what was going on, and that's when I grabbed the fire. Yeah, I rescued the fireplace.
So if anybody needs anything upcycling, they should come and see you as well.
Yeah, come and let me know. I'll give you some ideas.
I can kind of see, I mean, I know that you put out some great shots on Instagram of different things as well, with your sort of life juggler thing bubbling away in the background.
Yeah, Life Juggler is like currently it's a blog, and it just talks around, not as frequently as it should these days, but it just talks around like the changes in my life, and for example, getting together with a guy who was widowed and now kind of living with him and his two children, which I've done for 8 years. So you know, it started to kind of look at the life changing and kind of to interact with other life jugglers to see how they were coping with stuff, because I didn't have a clue. And yeah, just to talk about bereavement, everything from bereavement to my lone travels and or yoga, or you know, you name it, my own kind of, you know, family history. Yeah, so it started there, and you know, we'll see where it goes, really.
Are we going to see a lifestyle book or something at some point? You know, the life
Oh,
juggler. Yeah, it'll be like modern day Mrs. Was it Mrs. Beaton or something? Yeah,
I
when they
don't know about that. There's not much cooking going on with Life Juggler at the moment. She does cook though. I don't know. Life Juggler has like her own Spotify playlist and stuff like that, and yeah, and also kind of talks a bit about the menopause too. So you know, there may be potential, I don't know, to kind of I don't know, specialize in a couple of areas, but it's early days.
Yeah, no. It is amazing though, because you know it so reflects the parts of you. I mean, you know, I've got to know over the years since I've known you about you working in fashion PR and, you know, different lifestyle things that you've done. But you know, if I hadn't have known all that, I would have instantly known who you were by your Life Juggler blog as well, because you know you are just so into stylish different things, you know, maybe it be objects or antidotes or things like that. And
I think it's safe to say, yeah, I'm into different. I like different. I like the choice of different, and I think that goes for everything, for music, art, people, everything, you know. Yeah, different can be good. So it's kind of good to show off the path, I think, and just indulge your curiosity, you know, and see what you find. And I've always been pleasantly surprised when I kind of, you know, I've gone a little bit outside the box and then found interesting things, you know.
yeah, no, definitely. And of course you love to travel as well, don't you? I mean, you've done quite a bit of traveling.
I love to travel. Not that anyone's traveling right now, but yeah. I do love to travel. I've done two around the world trip. So I've taken big chunks of time off and done that. And that's been amazing. And that was some time ago. I've trekked to every space camp. Little known fact about me. Not for a while though. Yeah, so yeah, lots of different stuff, because I mean it's a big world out there, and you know, there's a lot to see.
And you never stop learning either, do you? I suppose different cultures teach us different things about communication as well.
Yeah, I really do feel that, you know, every time I go somewhere and experience a different place or different culture, meet different people, then yeah, I bring a bit of it back with me, and I hope it does influence the way I communicate in a positive way, you know, as in being very inclusive, which is quite important to me as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, that is a mark of a good PR comms person though, isn't it? To be that inclusive.
Yeah, I really do like diversity and, you know, being inclusive. And I think that's what travel gives you. I think it broadens your horizons, and yeah, it creates an awareness of, well, so many different things that you can just keep with you. Whatever you get from traveling, you know, whatever experiences kind of stays with you. And I think it kind of forms you going forward. That's what I think.
Oh, brilliant. So, you know, I mean, and do you see yourself when you can, because obviously nobody can really travel at the moment, as you said, do you see yourself sort of taking off the work around the world again soon, or?
I would love to. I have a 5-week trip to Vietnam penciled in for next year, but who knows whether that's a goer or not. But yeah, fingers crossed. We had to cancel for this year, but that would have been like a family holiday, and so that would have been quite interesting to, you know, to show the kids, you know, different places and different cultures, to see their reaction to that.
Yeah, I think it's very sort of character building, isn't it, for children as well, to be able to go and see different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, they have travelled a fair bit. You know, they've been well all over Spain, definitely, and Portugal. They've seen an awful lot of Europe, so it would be very exciting for them to go, you know, further afield, and as I say, just really experience a very, very different culture. But we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, definitely. I hope that kind of is a goer for you next year. So, so you know, back to your menopause cafe.
Yeah.
Well, I just, you know, because you are good at communicating, you definitely are. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. What do you find? What have you come across through your menopause cafe with different women? I mean, you know, is there a current theme, a theme running out through menopause, would you say, or is it?
I think the theme is that that no one can prepare for it, basically, and it kind of, you know, it just kind of, I don't know, creeps up on you, possibly, and people, you know, no matter what they hear or read or whatever, they're not quite prepared, because nobody knows how it's going to affect them, because everybody is such an individual transition, really. So yeah, some people sail through it, some people really, really struggle. Yeah, I had a lot of difficulty sleeping. I had like very, very achy bones. I relied very heavily on one particular book, which which was called Menopause: The Wise Woman Way, which of course I thought, yeah, that's me. I'm the wise woman. I can handle this. But you know, she, the lady who wrote that, I think she's called Susan, spelled Susun, Weed. Yeah, she has a really nice take on it about, you know, accepting and really giving yourself loads of TLC like during that time. The only downside is she does refer to embracing your inner crone now and again, which I'm not quite ready for. Sorry, Susan. but I do, I do highly recommend that book. I loved it. And actually, if you look at my Amazon record, I mean, I gave that book to so many people that I think I probably ordered about 30 copies over the years. So.
Really? Oh my goodness. So it's a really good one to get. But as you said, women do tend to sort of suffer in different ways. And it is sometimes hard, isn't it, to put it into words what is going on.
Yeah, I think so, and I think people do. Yeah, I think they keep a lot to themselves, because a lot of people aren't sure, is this the menopause or is this just me, or and so I think it's kind of tough navigating that really. And then I think it is really helpful. I know the feedback we got from menopause cafes was so positive. People just really loved having other people to speak to, and realizing they weren't alone, and things they were experiencing, were not unusual. And I think they found it really helpful.
Oh, brilliant. No, that is good. As you said, I think talking through anything helps, doesn't it?
It does, but it's sometimes hard to get people started on the menopause. I mean, a lot of celebrities talk about it now. Meg Matthews has got her own, well, Meg's menopause. Zoe Ball often talks about it. It's much more acceptable. But I mean, there was a time when people would tell you anything about themselves, but mainly things you didn't really need to know, rather than admit to having the menopause. But that is changing. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, because it's part of the human condition. I mean, it's not, it's not something that really should be. I mean, back in the day, you wouldn't have been talking about menopause, would you, with certain age groups of women?
No, I don't think. I don't think that people discussed it much at all. And I'm not quite sure why there is, or why there was kind of embarrassment and almost shame attached to something that is a natural process.
Yeah, it is a natural process, isn't it? And I think that's what people maybe fail to realize sometimes, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, you can't imagine, can you, Jean Bennett or Lynn Franks talking about the menopause back then, can you?
I think Lynn Franks may have done some menopause stuff. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check that out afterwards. I think she may have talked about that, because she does quite a lot of inspirational kind of work, and so maybe Lynn Franks has covered it. Yeah, poor Jean Bennett has, well, not been around for a very long time now. So, but I can't ever imagine discussing menopause with her. Mind you, I was pretty young then, so of course you never think it's going to happen to you. I think that's the other thing about the menopause. It get you kind of think, surely this is not happening to me. But yeah, as sure as eggs are eggs, if you'll excuse the pun, it is going to happen.
Yeah. It certainly is, definitely. So yeah, no, as I said, you've kind of gone full circle with everything, really, haven't you? In regards to how you've worked in PR and comms for 30 years, and so much has changed. And now we tend to have a conversation or put something out on social media that perhaps years ago we would never have dreamed about. I mean, there's been a lot, hasn't there, to do with period poverty recently in the press in the last sort of couple of years. And now that is becoming a subject.
It is becoming a subject, and actually, you kind of caught me on the hop, because I actually read a book recently that, oh my goodness, yeah, hang on, this is an obvious title. It's actually called Blood. It's called Blood, and it focuses very much on period poverty, but off the top of my head, I can't say much more about it because I haven't got it here. So, but yeah, it was phenomenal, and it did speak about all the cultural issues around periods and how women were treated in different countries, and not allowed into the house when they were having periods and stuff like that. So, and I mean that's current, that's happening now.
Yeah, which is, really quite strange. I mean, we've come a long way in the, West. I mean, in the UK, I guess, we now, in the last, I mean, I know in West Berkshire, because, we've both covered it, that there is period boxes and,
Yeah, the red boxes. Yeah.
yeah, that, that girls in schools can now access that, before, I mean, when we were kids, it was sort of like, I've got a period, I can't say anything,
Yes. Yeah.
and even now, I mean, you wouldn't even consider doing that in an office environment, would you? Saying, "Oh, I've got my period," or
No, you probably wouldn't, but you kind of should do really, because then again, it's a bit like the menopause thing. It's really good for people to have an awareness that you might just not be feeling, to absolutely tip top for a couple of days, and that's fine. Again, another natural process, but talking about period poverty, that I was reading in that book that, a lot of countries, girls go to school and there's no toilets for them to change in, or, they haven't got the proper, you know, um, pads or
facilities.
sanitary wear basically, and so they end up having to go home, because they haven't got proper sanitary wear, and if they did have any, there's no facilities for them to change or stuff like that, which is pretty shocking. It's
It
pretty
is
shocking.
pretty shocking. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. To think that this is happening now, it's just
Yeah, it's
not acceptable, is it?
It is. Actually, I did see an article about a Japanese store recently. I'll have to send you the graphic, but it's in a store they did ask female people to wear a badge with a kind of like I don't know, kind of an emoji woman basically, and she was called Miss Period, and so that was so that people were aware that people were on their periods. But I think I'm not sure how well that went. Not sure I'm completely signed up to that, but hopefully the intention was good behind it. But yeah, I'll have to send it to you because it was an interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea, and I mean, sometimes it just does take a little bit of groundbreaking movement to get things going. I mean, for example, like your menopause cafe is a really good thing because it gets people talking, doesn't it? And that is,
It's a national initiative, so I kind of looked at what they were doing, but I did it slightly differently, and actually went out to a cafe so that people, and kind of funded for people to have a coffee. So they had like a card when they came in, they could go get a coffee, and so it literally was just like a group of girls meeting up for lunch. And not in the office space where people are in a rush, or maybe they don't feel comfortable. So taking out the office environment, I felt was a really great benefit, and people really enjoyed that. And obviously we haven't been able to do it since, well, for a long time now. But yeah, hopefully once lockdown is over, we can get out there again.
yeah, definitely. I think it's really important, isn't it? To get
Yeah.
together with
I
people
mean, we
that
could
don't.
do something, but it's the social distancing, and we had everybody around one table. So yeah, hopefully that'll come back soon. Watch this space.
Yeah, yeah, no, well, we will watch this space. So that's cool. So, are you sort of planning, in the future to do more sort of life juggling things or?
Well, yeah, I mean, life juggler's a hobby right now, but there is potential because it's got so many places it could go to. So yeah, we'll see how people respond to, the blogs and Instagram, and just see how that rolls. As I say, there's a lot of interest, and because I cover all aspects of of my life, which kind of incorporates other people, it kind of reflects what's going on in other people's lives. Yeah, hopefully it could broaden. It could be something in the future.
definitely. I mean, so you're still going to hang on to that Vivienne Westwood jacket then?
Yeah, I might wear it to work tomorrow. Give it an airing.
Yeah, give it an airing. I would definitely. So show them how it's done. Show them how you should dress.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. So shake it up a little bit, definitely. No, but that's cool. Well, look, do you know what? It's been a real pleasure to sort of chat through various points in your life where you've been doing comms and PR and working in lifestyle situations as well. I think it's been really interesting. So, I mean,
thank you.
yeah, definitely, it really has. So, is there one thing that you can sort of take through the whole 30 years of?
I think that would be too tricky. I think it is my nature to like many, many things for many, many reasons. So probably not, I'm afraid, because there's so many things that I like and I'm interested in. So yeah, it's kind of hard to choose one or the other. I mean, I guess the whole thing is that I do like interacting, I like learning, I like communicating, and I very much like to get out there and meet other people who feel the same way, and that's a total life pleasure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see that. And that sort of like, you kind of live and breathe that, as a person. So yeah, no, that's fab. Keep being absolutely fabulous.